Hi guys, I welcome you all to the latest episode of Entrepreneur Speak that is produced by CII Ghaziabad. We are extremely honored to have Mr. Ajay Batra as our guest speaker for today's episode. Thanks a lot, sir, for agreeing to be a part of this series, sir. So before I move to the questionnaire, a little bit introduction about Mr. Ajay Batra. Ajay Batra is an alum of Carnegie Mellon University, 1996-2000 pass out. Then he became the vice president of Citibank at Walmart, while also being a mentor at NITI Aayog. Ajay Batra is the only Indian to be selected for IDEO's global program on design thinking for social impact. And recently, he has been voted as one of the top 10 entrepreneurship contributor in the world by Arist, USA. So that's one heck of a CV, sir. So I'll move to the question, sir. So my first question is that you did your MS in 1990 on computer science, and then you became the ex-vice president of. Then you joined Citibank. So in 1995, you co-founded your new a new organization known as the International Educational Exchange. So what made you make this switch from corporate world to a startup world, like from Walmart to straight being a founder of a new organization?
Okay, well, good morning and thank you, Sampat, for having me here, and thank you, IMT Ghaziabad. I think it's a great series that you're running. As far as my background is concerned, thank you for your kind words. Well, the transition from actually Citibank, Wall Street, to India was, in hindsight, rather easy. We, early 90s, the Indian IT industry was booming, and we wanted to do so that certainly was an opportunity. My wife and I, we wanted to do something of our own, and India was always an attractive place. It's home, so it actually was a no-brainer. We said, let's move back to India. We actually moved back to India and started two companies. One is what you mentioned, International Education Exchange. The other is Boolean Solutions, which is an IT consulting firm, internet-based IT consulting firm, which is one of the earliest of its kind. So, so the decision was to quit the job in New York and move back to India to start these two companies. Why? I just wanted to be home and cash in on the opportunity.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, coming to like your new venture, the latest venture, that is Startup Innovation Lab. Sir, if you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
So, Sampat, last many years, my work largely has evolved around three areas. One, entrepreneurship, where I've started a series of companies. Two, around education. And third, around supporting others, angel investing and mentoring. So Startup Innovation Lab in many ways kind of brings this together. It is a firm that specializes in doing three things. One, we work with startups who need mentoring, guidance, incubation, investment. So we work directly with startups and support them through the journey, whether it is early stage startup that is looking to launch, or a startup that's already in the market for some time, but now is looking to kind of grow its trajectory and increase its traction. So that's one thing we do. Second, we work with incubators. There are so many incubators and accelerators in the country. Many of them struggle to support startups. At the end of the day, think about it, Sampat. An incubator is successful if the startups are successful. Right? An incubator does well, the startups do well. So you want to make sure this connection between incubation program and startup success is established. So that's a service we offer. Third thing we do is work with large corporations in the area of creating a culture of innovation through design thinking.
Okay, sir. Sir, so this brings me to one more question, sir. You founded Lutyens startup in 2016. So that was mainly about mentoring and as an investor. So, sir, when you're mentoring as well as investing in a startup, so what kind of traits are you looking for? Like, what are the qualities that you are looking for in a startup while choosing to do so?
So, Sampat, actually, the actual decision is a lot of parameters, a lot of analysis, some bit of gut and intuition as well. But broadly, three things. Broadly, three things is what I would look at. One, I would broadly three. So, one, I would look at the founder. How committed, passionate, smart, hardworking how much does the founder believe in himself or herself and his or her idea? It's very, very important, because to me, that's a make or break. Two, I look at the uniqueness of the idea. Is the founder trying to do something that's really going to change the world? Are they really trying to bring something that's not been tested that well in India or abroad? So uniqueness of the idea. Third, of course, the market potential. There are many ideas we hear, right? Especially in the tech space. They look very cool. They are innovative, and people are very passionate about them. But unfortunately, those ideas sometimes don't have enough markets for them to get it going to. So it has to be a combination of these: market opportunity, uniqueness of the idea, and the person behind it,
Oh,
or persons behind it.
okay. So for startups, it's very important to launch an MVP, that is a minimum viable product. Now, sir, this can backfire also. Like if you launch the MVP a little bit early, it probably can generate a lot of negative response. Okay, and so as a negative response, if you get right at the beginning, then it's very difficult for you to create a brand value image. So, sir, what do you think is the exact time for for a startup to launch the MVP? Like when they should target that step?
So, MVP in some ways also over discussed and overhyped. And most people understand MVP to be at least some aspect of a solution that the customer can relate to, right? Minimum viable product. Some people call it minimum lovable product. So it depends on who you talk to. I actually think if you got into MVP and now you are for the first time testing with your potential customer, you're already too late.
Okay.
In my views, even before you started developing the MVP, you should have been out in the market, talking to customers, understanding current options, looking at customers' needs today. Maybe the needs are changing. Look at COVID, right? Our understanding of customers and markets is dramatically going to change. If you haven't kept an eye on that, you could continue selling the same cell phone, but post-COVID, maybe it won't sell because customers want different things. So MVP is something that comes later. Once you have understood the customer pain, you've gone and talked to the customer,
yes,
and figured out what's happening in their world. Not talking about the product you're making the cell phone. You're talking about the customer with a pure empathetic view, so that you understand the world. You do that conversation, understand the problem and pain of the customer, create some kind of a prototype, MVP, proof of concept, if you will. Then you take it to the customer. Chances of success are higher. Part one. Part two, if you're only thinking of product or a service till MVP, then also I think you are taking greater risk. You need to start thinking business and marketing the product from day one. So while you're out there developing the MVP, you or your team members or co-founders must be out there looking at how could we reach our customers, what partnerships do we need, how will marketing happen, why would somebody even buy, what's a good price to sell. So some bit of business groundwork has to happen in parallel with product development.
Right.
That I think is a solution to mitigate a lot of the risks.
Okay, sir. Sir, my next question is, say in India, sir, we have a problem with customer loyalty, sir. So especially in the B2C market, like आज अगर Ola है तो कल Uber है, आज Swiggy है तो कल Zomato है. So, sir, it's very difficult for any B2C startup to create a loyal customer base. So, what kind of traits, what should be the steps they should be following? What are the strategies they should be following to create a USP, and that should be able to differentiate them from others?
When we talk about consumers, think of ourselves, you and I, right? End of the day, whether when we are standing in the market and we have to go home and we have to book a cab, we may like Uber or we may like Ola, okay? And maybe that's the first app we open. But end of the day, the app we use is the one that gets us the cab faster and perhaps cheaper.
Yeah.
So I think the loyalty these days is not so much to brand, but to customer experience. Any brand that gives me a better experience than today, I'm going to go there. And you can't blame the customer. Again, look at us, right?
Yeah,
we change phone brands, cab, online food based on our needs. So To think that customer loyalty, sorry, is to be taken for granted, will always be there. I think that notion is changing. What we have to ask ourselves is, instead of saying, do we have loyal customers? The question we should ask is, what experience are we giving customers? Is that experience improving day on day? If you focus on that, you will get the customer base you want. You may or may not have a loyal customer base. You may have new customers coming on board, but they come on board because you offer good service, good value at a good price. So I'm saying branding. Sampat, hi, sorry, lost you there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, connectivity issues. After the cyclone thing, sir, it's not working properly, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Yes,
So all I'm saying is loyalty is important, but more than loyalty, focus on customer experience, great service, great value, great quality at a good price, which will mean you have to be constantly at it. The notion of I have created a great product, I have a loyal customer base of 1 million people who will stay with me for life is gone. Does not exist.
So coming to that point, like in all the B2C startups in India, we have seen, sir, they have to burn a lot of cash, sir. Like to reach the break even, they have to wait for quite some long time, sir. So how do we try to achieve that break even point a little bit quickly, like normal on a normal faster rate than what they're achieving at now in current situation?
Yeah. No, good question. And I think we have to be careful. If we are playing in a B2C space in which we are creating either a brand new category, a brand new experience, it requires little cash burn to build that habit, get some minimum base of customers going. So you have to be very clear, are you really operating in a well-defined, narrow, unique space? Now, if you are one of many players offering fairly undifferentiated service, I would question, why are you burning so much cash? I would question your strategy of being in a market that is so cluttered, because end of the day, you have to carve out that special niche for you yourself. If you don't, you'll spend so much time in customer acquisition, you'll spend so much time and money in marketing that you will hardly ever be profitable. So my advice to startups is, if you're entering a crowded market, be very clear of what you're entering, why you're doing it, and be prepared to be in it for the long haul as far as marketing spends are concerned. Better strategy perhaps is to look for that one little gap that nobody else is addressing and go after it. Be narrow, be sharp, be differentiated. It'll reduce your customer acquisition costs dramatically. And I go back to what I said earlier, all of this on the basis of offering superior customer experience.
So you being you have so much of trust in innovation, and sir, me also coming from IT background, we have seen everywhere, like whether it's IT or whether it's in the FMCG market, we're always talking about innovation. So sir, like what are the technologies, like the upcoming technologies that you think are probably the most important for innovation, and what if there is any one modern issue that you want to solve which is still unsolved? You want to solve, you want to see a startup coming up with a plan to solve that any modern problem?
Yeah, good question again. I think it goes to the root of why people do startups. Often, majority of the successful startups, if you talk to the founders, they do it because something out there bothered them. Whether it was they're standing in the street and it's difficult to get a cab, and so Uber was born. Whether it is not being able to book a hotel during a conference when the city started, Airbnb. You have to figure out what pain you see out there and pain that connects with you. So I'm going to give two-part answer, Sampat. Which technologies do I believe have potential? I truly believe AI and ML-based applications have a huge appeal out there.
Yes.
Okay. Two, I also think, especially now COVID has highlighted, AR, VR solutions will go on an uptick. The technologies, right? In terms of domains, in terms of what would I like to see startups address? If you look around us, India and certainly around the world, there are some fundamental challenges. Startups that focus on the fundamental, I think, will always be in demand. So let me connect the dots here. Education is a big problem around the world, right? Now, if somebody can solve this problem of giving good education that's experiential, value adding, relevant, UR, AI, personal, video, whatever, I think they've cracked a big problem. That's one. Two, you look around ourselves, maybe not these days because we haven't been traveling, but most of our cities are so polluted. So give us a solution to pollution, whatever that solution is. Give us a solution for increasing the productivity yield of our crops and agriculture. So I'm just sharing with you. And these days, Sampat, it's very obvious. Health, well-being, medical assistance as needed, of course, has become important to us. So actually, if you look at it, we're talking to basics, right? We're talking about basics. So I have the line that I use very often. I said, every country needs to focus on roti, kapda, makan, basics. But these days, we need to focus also on shiksha, sehat, and calm as in work. So focus on education, focus on health, focus on meaningful work, and I think we'll be okay as a society. So startups that address these challenges, I think we'll have an interesting story ahead.
Okay, sir. Sir, sir, obviously, sir, one question has to be there, sir, regarding the COVID thing, sir. So my question is that, sir, there were a lot of startups that were about to get funded before this pandemic struck. So, what kind of change in the mentality do you expect post-COVID? Because we have seen, organized, well-established startups like Oyo, Swiggy, Zomato, they are following staff in numbers. Okay, so what kind of change in mentality do you expect, and what is the suggestion to the existing startups, like how what they should do in order to cope with whatever it's going right now?
Again, what's happening, it's tragic, it is unexpected, it is very hard to comprehend. And part of a startup's nature, a founder's nature, is to deal with unexpected stuff, to deal with drops of all kinds, whether economic drop or people drop or social drop. I'll give you my example. Some investments, angel investment that I was considering 3 months ago, I have not said no to them, but almost all of them I've said, let's wait. Why am I waiting as an investor? I'm waiting because the funds I have, which I have already committed some funds to certain startups, which are already out there, right? If they need further help, my first priority is to help the startups in my portfolio. Then if there is cash left, maybe I'll look at some new startups. 1. 2, I also want new startups to come back and say, hey, the world has changed. I'm going to do things differently because demand is different. Customers' preferences have changed. Maybe price points have changed. I'm also waiting for startups to use this as an opportunity to really understand, pivot if they need to, reflect and figure out, are they really doing all the right things? So it's an opportunity to sometimes take stock. Such alarming situations are also an opportunity to course correct. So I'm waiting for existing startups that I was talking to and say about investment, and I've not said no to anyone. I said, keep me updated, tell me what you're doing, tell me how you're handling. I'm here to support you, but investment, let's talk maybe a month or two.
So we want to hear a little bit about your new book that's gonna come out, the startup launch book, sir. So what is the target audience, and a little bit about that book, sir?
Sure, I'm very excited about the book. As much as we work so much with early stage founders, we work with people who have an idea of a startup and nothing else, and those who actually been working on it for 6, 8 months, 9 months, and trying to take it forward. What we've learned, Sampat, over the many years is that while the inputs are available, knowledge is available, so much on Google, so many books, and so many mentoring available, most startups struggle. What should I do? Shall I quit my job? Shall I leave my studies? Shall I start now? Shall I wait later? Do I need 1 co-founder? Do I need 4 co-founders? These are very fundamental questions that keep appearing over and over and over again in our conversations. So the startup launch book actually is a collection of best practices from our experience of working with hundreds of startups, both in India and abroad, so global best practices, and putting them in some kind of a structure that is available as a roadmap to any new entrepreneur. So Sampat, tomorrow if you want to do a startup, you can actually open up and say, okay, this is where I am. This is the next step, and next and next and next. So there's a guided journey that's available to you. Now, of course, no startup journey is straight, right? Nothing is straight line. It's more like this. But the map will help you. So the startup launch book is a map. It's like a Google map for somebody who wants to become an entrepreneur. What should you do? Where are you? And where should you go next?
Okay. So I'll need a free copy of that book, sir. So,
Sure.
Sir, okay, sir. So coming to the last question, sir, like you said that you mentioned this thing that when to quit a job. So, sir, we as e-sellers, we have found this one problem that it's very difficult to promote the idea of entrepreneurship, especially in MBA colleges. Like they have, the mentality is that कि 16 लाख का नौकरी लग गया बस तो life set है बस और so why take the risk? So, sir, how do we cope? Like, what should we do, and what are the suggestions for them? Like, what like if you want to say something like what they should be doing to come up with something of their own. So, sir.
Sampat, the message I want to give to all students, you raised MBA, but it actually applicable to everyone, all kinds of students. The world around us, as we have seen in the last few months, will change, and it will not announce, it will just show up. And when I say world, I mean personal lives, company, jobs. It's very hard to have a straight line trajectory of jobs. You join Tata Sons and for 30, 40 years you're there in one location, one city is done. It will never happen. So one of the things that will help you be more agile in your career, whatever you're doing, you may be in a job, but if you're entrepreneurial in your job, you will be more successful. Why? Because what does an entrepreneur essentially do? An entrepreneur is always creating opportunities. He is curious, is finding innovative solutions, is trying to create teams, is trying to create an impact. Now, if you do that within a company, I'm telling you, your bosses will appreciate it. And we do so many interviews of college students, and almost always in every interview they say, "Are you entrepreneurial?" Most people don't know what it means, to be honest. But I'm telling you, every company needs entrepreneurial candidates. And so my message to students: not everybody is cut out to become an entrepreneur. Not everybody will become a Mark Zuckerberg or a Zebra, and that's fine, completely fine. We've seen in any educational institution, if about 5 to 10% students do their own startup, that's a good ratio. It's okay. But for the other 95, my recommendation is explore and understand how startups work. Explore and understand how the world of entrepreneurship works. After that, you want to join Wipro, you want to join McKinsey, you want to join an NGO, that's fine. But tomorrow, if not right away, maybe 2 years, 5 years, 10 years later, when you do want to start your own thing, this journey, this knowledge will help you. So, Sampat, we can't push people into entrepreneurship.
Yes,
and I don't think we should push people into entrepreneurship. It is a calling. It will come. Sometimes it comes, which is fine. Sometimes it doesn't come. That's fine too. Sometimes it comes when you're 18. Sometimes it comes when you are 48, and that's fine. But being an entrepreneur is a choice. Being entrepreneurial is not a choice for everyone today.
Okay. So thank you, sir. So that brings us to an end of this episode. Sir, it's been an absolute honor, sir, talking to you, and I hope whatever insights that you gave, sir, people will take that in a serious way. And sir, obviously, sir, I personally will, sir. And sir, thanks a lot, sir. I hope to see you soon, sir.
Thank you. Good talking to you, and all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe.